Hi, welcome to This is Piqua, presented by the Piqua Area Chamber of Commerce, only on the Indian Nation station, Piqua Channel 5. This is Piqua is a show where we go out and showcase all the great local businesses right here in the Piqua, Ohio area. If you're interested in being on This is Piqua, contact me at GANGERA@piqua.org or give me a phone call at 937-308-5322. We look forward to hearing from all of you. We hope you enjoy This is Piqua.
Hi, welcome to This is Piqua, presented by the Piqua Area Chamber of Commerce. My name is AJ Ganger. Today I'm here with Jim Oda at the Piqua Public Library. Jim, thank you for joining us today.
Welcome to the library.
You know, we're here at the library. Tell me a little bit about the history of the library, and then we'll kind of do a walkthrough and everything like that.
So you want the long version or the short version?
Whichever version you want to give.
We'll give you the short version. The library is situated in an 1891 structure that was built as the Plaza Hotel, and then it's had a number of different occupants in here. It ceased being a hotel in about 1991. By that time it was just long-term, less than positive people staying here. And then in about 2001 or so, started serious consideration of restoring this building. It was in very, very, very bad shape. And by 2008, they had completed that. The library moved in, so we're looking at our 10th anniversary here very shortly. And we have a coffee shop and restaurant in here. So it really has turned a building that wasn't very good for our community into a showcase.
It's a very beautiful building, not only from the interior, but also from the outsides of it. I mean, it's raining here today when we're filming this, and the outside shots would be great to get. Maybe we'll come back and get some of those. But tell me a little bit about the outside structure a little bit.
Okay, this is what's called Richardsonian Romanesque. That's the style. It was designed by J.W. Yost, who was an architect, the same architect that designed the courthouse in Troy, and that's why we're here. I don't know if you might have heard that there's a rivalry between Piqua and Troy.
Yes.
So they got the courthouse. We got the same architect, brought them here, two men that were industrialists and bankers, and he brought Yost in, and he designed this building. And where the courthouse, of course, a beautiful building, building there. And it's taller, has the dome, but we're 105 square feet larger. Okay. Not that we're keeping track of anything.
Right.
So it's that's why the structure is here. Really, Piqua was too small for it as a hotel. Never really made money as a hotel. Basically just the businesses on the ground floor that kept it afloat, and now we're here and very, very pleased to be here. It's a wonderful space to have a library.
Yeah, it really, really is. And can you tell me a little bit how many books you may have here, what kind of books, things like that?
We have all books.
All books.
We are the font of all knowledge. Yes, no. Maybe about 135,000, 140. It varies a little bit. And we're situated on the lower level. That's the children's, and then the main lobby where we are right now, where we have programmings, and we also have our brand new books and audio visuals. And then the second floor is fiction and nonfiction, and third floor is storage, and then the fourth floor is run by the city of Piqua, and that's kind of a convention and weddings and reunions and so forth are up there.
Now, what are some of the important maybe artifacts or things like that that you guys have accumulated over the years here at the library? I mean, I've been upstairs in the third floor and seen some of the stuff up there, but tell me a little bit about that stuff up there.
Well, we have in photographs and negatives, maybe rough estimate about 200,000 photographs and negatives, reaching back from the 1850s up through about 2005. We have organizational records. I think our earliest go back to 1820. And so we have clubs, organizations. We have, if you remember in school, if you had done something wrong and they said if you do it again it's going on your permanent record, we've got your permanent record. Our best one we have, I believe it's 1923. Young lady, we have her grades, and she made got a B in health and an F in hygiene.
Oh.
So she knew she should bathe, she just didn't do it. So we have those kind of records. We have some of your predecessors on Channel 5. We have all of those tapes. A wide range of material. We have newspapers on microfilm back to 1820. So we've got a lot of our community's history and heritage, and we have three-dimensional and two-dimensional objects. So this is one of our roles, not just to be a library, but to be a community center, to be an archives, to be a museum.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have a lot of cool things, and kids, like he just said, you better be careful. Mike, Morgan, you guys better both be careful, because your permanent records may end up here in the public library someday. So make sure you get good grades.
Right, and your great grandchildren will look them up and say, "Whoa, these guys!"
These guys were a handful in high school. I can slack off now. Well, Jim, tell me a little bit about the community members that you actually have come in here. How many people do you think come in through day to day, and also age group wise? How many people from different age groups do you think come in?
Well, we have them from, I think, one of our puppet shows downstairs. Mother brought the child that was 5 days old. So that's probably about the oldest. And then we've had them, we had one patron when we first opened, we gave him the first card. He had just turned 100. So we have pretty much the gamut of ages. We have maybe, give or take, about 100,000 that come through the building. That's not necessarily 100,000 unique individuals, but people, 100,000 walking through the door. And we have people that come for books. Yes, some people still read books. We do have, you can get Kindle, you can get that free here. We do have, as we said, audio visual. We have people that come in just to sit because it's quiet and they can read the newspaper, read magazines. We had one gentleman a while ago that his baby was teething, so he would come here and sit for an hour. That was his break from young one. So people come in for a wide variety of reasons. We hear a lot, well, aren't libraries with electronics going, why do we need a library? Well, libraries do a lot. You come in and, or you put a search on Google, and it comes back and it's 11,000 responses. Now, you're not going to go through all 11,000 of those.
No.
That's one of the things that librarians can do to help you cut that down. We also have databases. EBSCO is a good example of it. It is an electronic version of, I'm not sure the exact number right now. It's probably 200 newspapers, magazines. It's indexed. You can use it from home using your library card, but it's expensive. Now, you're going to spend several $1,000s so you can go on EBSCO to get that one piece of information you might need once a year. But we are.
Yeah.
And so you can come to the library, or, as we said, get it electronically at home using your library card. So there's a lot of different things, and people call the library, call our information desk with a lot of strange and unusual requests. So it's amazing what comes through here. Our children's department, we have puppet shows, and we have kids that have never, ever seen a live performance.
Really?
Not that the puppets are alive. Well, some of our puppets are. Actually, when we closed down the old library and moved here, we told the kids that the puppets were going on vacation to Florida. And so they come to the puppet show, and we have our puppeteers here. They've been doing this for 35, 40 years, and they just are wonderful with voices and so forth. And we get a lot of the kids that will come up to the puppet stage and kind of poke it. Why isn't there a screen there?
Right.
And our puppeteers librarians will say, "Timmy, how are you today?" And Timmy will go, how's the puppet know my name? So it's fun, and they come for that, and we have readings and so forth here. And then in this lobby, which was amazing to us, we have great acoustics here.
You do. You have really good sound.
And libraries, we don't do acoustical studies. I mean, it's usually shh, but here we've got great. So we have people that periodically play the piano that we have here. We've had bluegrass. We've had string quartets. People singing. It's been a wide variety of things that can happen here, and it's about 125 people that come in. So it's kind of an intimate. You're right there with the individual, and so we find that that's a positive. So people come here to get those kind of programmings, and for Christmas, you can buy a used book at our bookstore.
Nice.
So we have some, and people donate things, and so we get a lot of different. So it's the total experience, and we're working on a walking trail, so you don't have to go to a gym. You can just come and walk in your library.
That's a good idea. People get their exercise walking
right.
out here.
Go up the marble stairs, and when your office is in the basement and somebody wants you on the second floor, you've had your exercise for the day. So.
And a lot of people they rather prefer to have the hard copy of the book too. And
yes.
This is a great place to come and actually get the hard copy of a book.
Sure.
I still love having the physical book in my hand as well.
Well, and the old concept of the commercials. You can take your whatever electronic piece you have, and you can sit on the beach and read it. Well, if you've ever tried to sit in bright sunlight on the beach with sand and salt water, not a good combination. But hey, your paperback book, it gets a little wet, you can just dry it out, and books are still good to go.
Yeah.
But we're aware of electronics, so you can get electronic copies here too.
So, one thing also that there's a lot of rumors spread around about this place, and, because it's so old and things like that, is the paranormal.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about the paranormal stories that have gone on here at the library.
Oh, well, we have a lot of different stories. It depends on how you feel. We've had maybe 5, 6 paranormal groups that come in with all the equipment, and they find orbs and they hear strange and unusual noises. But we've had some things happen. For instance, if you go down the basement here, marble steps, everything's fine. Why so fancy going downstairs? Because we were the very first indoor plumbing in Piqua, so the bathrooms were downstairs. Now, because when they were building this, there's a ghost story in this, I'll tell you. When we were first building it, they didn't buy enough land for the outhouses. So they convinced the city to build the very first sewer line. And so they were digging the sewer line, and they were digging it back here, and it went behind this building down Wayne, and then it went to the Great Miami River, the south of town. The idea being that it's okay to dump the raw sewage in the river because there's nothing significant south of Piqua. If you're Troy, then you would understand that.
Yes.
So now, when they were digging this ditch, we had never dug sewage line ditches before. They did not support them. And on a Friday afternoon, a gentleman was fairly close to this building, and the entire ditch collapsed on him. Before anybody else could get here, he was buried alive. He died. We know this happened. It was in the newspaper. Now, a few years later, they built the new city jail out of concrete block, and there were complaints by the prisoners that there was noise. It was so noisy at night, and all this noise coming from the basement, that they couldn't sleep in their jail cells. But the key to this is the sewer line went under the jail, and there was no basement in the jail.
Oh, geez. That's really scary.
Yeah, so, we haven't, I can find where it is, and I brought a chair out and sat there for a while. Didn't hear anything, but then, who knows? We have a lot of those kind of stories that go go with the building.
I've heard you guys offer, classes like that where people come out and they're in the paranormal classes.
Right.
What other activities do you offer to people here and events that take place here at the library?
Oh, well, you can learn how to knit. You can learn how to download everything to your Kindle. We have computer classes for people that are just beginning. Mm-hmm. We had a gentleman that came in, older gentleman. He said, well, now I understand this is going to be a really basic class. We said, yeah, it's going to start. And he said, well, now, where are the cages? And I said, I don't understand your question. What cages? He said, for the mice. Now, that was a basic computer user. So, but we do that. We have Christmas decorations, how to make some of those. We have a national writing organization, and they come here and just quiet place and they write, and it's in a club. And we have a lot of clubs and organizations that meet here. We have Bible study group that comes here. So just about anything that you can do in one way or the other, we'll offer a course on it. Either our own staff does it, or we bring in people from around the area to do programming. So we do maybe 15, 20 programs a month. And then on top of that, then there's the groups that regularly meet here. And so it's pretty busy place.
Now, what does it mean to you being in Piqua? The library, obviously, this is the Piqua Public Library, but
Right.
I mean, it's obviously a key pivotal part to the community of Piqua. What do you think that means to you? We're right here, right outside Main Street,
Right.
here in Piqua, right in the heart of your Fort Piqua Plaza. What do you think it means to you about being right here in Piqua?
Well, for the community, it means that we are a center. We're someplace you can go. You can't miss us. You can't walk by. I walked by and I didn't know where you were. Well, in some places, some libraries, that's true. It's one more brick building. We are not one more brick building. No. We are a massive structure here. And for me personally, I grew up with libraries. My mother worked at the old library for probably 35 years. My father was a trustee here. I'm kind of a legacy, But this was my very first job when I was 11, was shelving books. And so libraries are always something for me. And we have kind of a unique situation in Piqua in that the old library on Green Street was built in 1907. So we're one of the few libraries in the state of Ohio that moved from an old building to an older building. I mean, normally we don't do that. And we had a lot of, just people saying, well, why are we doing this? Let's not do it. It's a terrible thing to do. And why don't we just tear this thing down and we'll just be, do something else, build a square brick building. Well, we could have done that. That's possible. But you wouldn't have had this.
Right.
We wouldn't have had this wonderful, outstanding space if we had just built a brick building. So I think it's a great thing for our community. It's going to be someplace that's going to be here for the next 100 years. And I'm not going to be here. I was thinking of actually being buried under the floor, but so far I haven't convinced anybody of that, But it's something that Piqua can be proud of, and we get a lot of people that will come in and say, hey, I just wanted to show the relatives what this is, and it's which is cool. And we get kids, a 6-year-old pulling grandma down, and she's, well, now where's the children? It's down here, Grandma. Oh, it's right down here. So it's great. Kids bringing their parents and grandparents here. That's a neat thing to do. So,
what would you say the lasting impact on Piqua that you would like the library to leave?
I think as our lasting impact is as a community center, is someplace to learn, for children to learn, for high school to learn, for adults to learn, for seniors to learn. It's someplace that you can come and expand your horizon. And how much better to do that than with books? I'm a little, obviously oriented toward books, but there's so many things here that can expand the history, the architecture. I mean, when we talk about this building, For instance, right after the Second World War, 1945, they had a sit-in at the bus stop. Broke segregated seating for African Americans in our community in 1945. Think about the civil rights movement is the 60s.
Yes.
We're doing it 15 years earlier. And wow, what a neat thing for us. So people, this is not only a monument to our past, but it's a monument to our future. What we can learn here, what we can do here, what we can be proud of. And we very often say, oh, well, we live in Piqua. Hey, we live in Piqua. And I'll tell you, on a state level, we show up in periodicals and reports. This is something great that's happened here and that's happened in a state. And so it's something we're really proud of.
Well, thank you very much, Jim, for letting us be here today.
Pleasure.
Right now, let's show us around a little bit, and we'll get some shots there, and we'll go from there.
All righty, good, good. Kristen King was in the 2006 Olympics on the United States women's hockey team from Piqua, and they were one of the bronze medal winners for the hockey in that year. And Kristen was very gracious and donated to us her practice uniforms when she was a little kid. And so it's interesting, she's not a big person. You think of hockey people as, whoa, really big. She's not. And we have a couple of pictures of her standing next to this. Not much taller, but a wonderful skater, a very, very talented woman. And but we got her skates and her gloves and her stick. So this is a lot of fun. And there was a major parade when she came back into town, a real sports hero for our community. We're in the lower level, or children's department, and this is one of the finest children's departments you're going to find. We have more children's books, children's activities, things to do than libraries like Oakwood and good old Piqua. And like we said before, we have puppet shows and readings and all sorts of really fun things to do here. We have a tremendous children's collection here, and this is one of the areas that we're probably most proud of because this really is something that the kids really enjoy. It's in the basement, it's shorter, the shelves are shorter, everything is kid level. So when you come down here, this is your space as a kid. If you want to shout and yell, we hope that you don't do that a lot, but you can. You're not disturbing anybody else. So this is a great space for kids and parents and grandparents with them. And so this is a space we're particularly very, very proud of. All right, we're in the Rollins Gallery. This is a interesting space because originally we weren't supposed to have this. And the idea was that we were going to have this completely open. Then the state of Ohio said, no, if you want tax credits, you have to maintain the corridors. Okay, since they were giving us a whole lot of money, we maintained the corridors. But then what were we going to do with this? We thought, well, how about storage? Well, I've got 15,000 square feet of storage upstairs. Don't need this for storage. We put the doors across, put the carpeting in, lights. Aha! It's a gallery. So what's up here right this moment is some odds and ends of our own collection. We call this is literally architecture in art. So everything that's here right now has an architecture theme to it. And so all of these belong to us. We have rotating exhibits that come in here, which is really nice. We were never able to do that. The Ohio Watercolors Association, the Western Ohio Watercolor. We're going to have a couple of other specialty. We've had individual artists come in. And so we're able to really highlight a lot of different kinds of art. So we try to have as much here as we can. So it's not just books. These are paintings from artists in our region, the Upper Miami Valley. And so to my knowledge, we're the only one that's collecting those. And so, again, community center, as well as just a library, we have a lot of different kinds of things going on here in the gallery.
This looks like a shop.
And what's nice is we have, for instance, here we have the same scene, one done in oil and one done about 25 years later in watercolor. Same thing, but the artist sees it differently. And that's what's the difference between photography and art, is this is a feeling of that building. Now, you know, that's the rock crusher in the quarries right outside of town, and so is this, but they just see it differently.
Yeah.
And that's what's fun about art, is that it's not just a exact rendering, it's how you see it inside your own mind. So that's the gallery, one of our attempts to preserve what is unique in our community. So we can travel on through some of the other parts of the library. This is a sleigh. Would have had usually a single horse pulling it. This is from the 1880s. It was made by the Spiker Company in Piqua and then totally restored. This is a beautiful, beautiful piece of manufacturing in our community. For the holiday seasons, it's just perfect. And so we are really, the owner has been just very gracious in allowing us to display this particular piece. So it's a gorgeous piece of manufacturing, and it certainly just brings the Christmas spirit in there. We'd break into going to grandmother's house over the river, but I won't do that to you. We're here on the second floor, and behind me are our two study rooms that were put together. Now, these were originally hotel rooms, so you get a feel for how big they are. One we call, this is the veterans room on this side and the president's room on this side. We've had a number of presidents. We don't think any of them actually spent the night here, but we do know that they went into this room and went out onto the balcony and spoke to the crowds outside. People like William McKinley and Teddy Roosevelt and William Howard Taft. And these people came here, gave major speeches to the Republican faithful out on the square. So we've got pictures and things of them, and then we use these. Literally, you can reserve these to study or to do a project or all sorts of different things that go on here. One of the last things I want to talk about was our mirror. This is one of the two Venetian mirrors here, and when we were redoing this particular structure, one of the workmen pulled me over and he says, "Why is there a face in the mirror upstairs?" And I said, "There's not a face in the mirror upstairs." And he says, "Oh yeah, there is." So he brought me up here, and at that time there was a big hole in the ceiling and the sun was coming through there, and it hit space right about there, and yes, there was a face. And I thought, well, that's just the silvering in the back. It's kind of been scratched or something like that. Didn't think too much about it until we suddenly, and we can't see it now without the direct sunlight on it, but our theory of this is that we know that Harry Houdini, the magician, the escape artist, came to Piqua. We know he stayed here. He gave a presentation at the, literally the Opera House, Mays Opera House, and he gave a, kind of a promo, a piece that would say, "Hey, I'm here." He had himself wrapped up in chains, put in a trunk, pushed over the Shawnee Bridge into the Great Miami River. He got out, but the river was low and his trunk got stuck in the mud, and they had to pull it out by horses. Well, according to the newspaper, Houdini was kind of upset with this because it kind of ruined the flowing image that he was trying to get. And we know that Houdini probably stayed on this floor And this was the area that he would have sat in, waiting to go on stage later on in the evening. And we think that a very upset Harry Houdini stared at this mirror until he burned his image into the glass. And if you're in third grade, you'll really believe that. Well, that's kind of the end of at least this particular tour of the Piqua Public Library. It's been a real joy being here with you. Thank you.